when you've worked very hard on something that's very personal to you, it's frankly a thrill to be recognised and for it to be acknowledged. Here I was playing a great man, I think a great man, a great artist, certainly one of the greatest actors who's ever lived, and known and inspiring my generation and many generations of actors. So when the Screen Actors Guild nominated myself and Michelle, that for me was particularly meaningful, because to play an actor and be acknowledged by fellow actors, particularly that actor, it was really exciting. And everybody has an investment in Marilyn, the Marilyn story. So the Hollywood Foreign Press, who are very familiar with Hollywood icons, with movie stars, with great actors, for them to feel as though we got somewhere near it with the performances of Michelle and myself, was also very touching, and that they should nominate the movie and recognize that this movie is very funny. It gets put into the comedy and musical category, and Michelle sings and she dances wonderfully as Monroe. But one of the additional pleasures of working on the picture and seeing it play in movie theaters was to see how much laughter there was. So, and additionally, critics groups who, of course, have a very strong view on the work of Marilyn and of Olivier. These are two sort of titans, and with Olivier, a whole decades and decades of work that they might be familiar with. Again, to feel as though in playing iconic figures, we had managed to make people forget that and just react to what they see. That reflected in these nominations has been really a very, 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 very pleasing and humbling thing. The most curious piece of the sort of circular nature of this experience was being 15 years old, asking the English teacher at school whether I could borrow from the school English cupboard a dirtying old LP record which nobody ever looked at. It was the speeches from Shakespeare films of Laurence Olivier, and took it home and I put it on the record player. I don't know why I was drawn to it. It was a great picture. He looked wonderful as Hamlet on this cover, but I didn't really know who he was, and I played it, and one heard with this great dramatic William Walton music, and for the most famous soliloquy in the whole play, he's standing above crashing rocks at the top of a great castle, and in his mind you suddenly hear these famous words through that famous voice saying, "To be or not to be, that is the question." And it had a very, very profound impact, both the words of Hamlet and the words of Laurence Olivier. A few years later, I wrote to him as a young actor, received a reply saying he couldn't help me, but have a bash and hope for the best. And 30 years after that, in my dressing room mirror in Pinewood Studios, in the dressing room and in the mirror he'd sat in 50 years previously to play the role in The Prince and the Showgirl, popping up a little post-it note with my copied version of his advice, have a bash and hope for the best. Well, I did, Sir Laurence. I've had a bash, and thanks to you, I've hoped for the best. And indeed, quite literally, thanks to you in this case, I've had the best of experiences with my fellows, with my director, and now with the reception of the movie. So, I don't know, life goes in strange circles, and this is one of the strangest and most pleasurable for me. I think actors are often pigeonholed or associated with certain kinds of things, and although it was never my intention to do anything other than be inspired by the great work that Laurence Olivier left for all actors, for all audiences, if you're going to be compared with somebody, be compared with the best, because you'll never match up, but you'll learn a great deal from perhaps some of the blows along the way. And specifically here, researching, playing Sir Laurence Olivier in My Week with Marilyn, was to be reminded once again what a sensational artist he was, how sublime an actor he could be, and how much there still is to learn from watching his work. And so I felt as I was back to school, and it was a great school to be in.